right, you guys. We were actually
What you got to say?
we had a breakfast date this morning, and of course, we had some great conversation between my husband and I, and we wanted to share it with you guys. Um, we were talking about purpose, and we actually got a new revelation of purpose. We talk about purpose and what is my purpose, and what I'm supposed to be doing. We was actually talking about when you see like celebrities or you see people who contribute greatly to society, um, you know, passing away and dying. Some people live for a long time. Some people, we were talking about the Michael Jacksons, we were talking about the Leahs, we were talking about the Prince, the Whitney Houston, Lewis, John Lewis, Martin Luther King. We're just talking about all these people. Of course, ultimately, we were talking about who? Jesus.
Yeah.
And
our main man.
Our main man.
That's our main man.
And God was really showing us another revelation in regards to purpose.
Good morning,
and it's like we never looked at it this way before, because our thing is always to be in God's will, to always, because we want to, we want God to use us in a mighty way. We really want God to, take us through our purpose, But we was thinking about, at first we were agreeing to disagree. But I was trying to get, Vito was trying to get me to understand his thought of purpose. And I was trying to get him to understand my thought of purpose. And technically we realized there's like two types of purpose of God. You have, we call it the verb purpose.
Yes.
And the verb purpose is what you are doing now to prepare you for the noun purpose. The noun is purpose is
the action, place, or
place or thing. That's the noun. We know that. Elementary, we know that. And the verb is the action, is the thing that prepares you for the ultimate purpose of life. And if you notice how even what you're doing now, even though you may think it's insignificant, you think it's not important, you don't think it's worthy, you don't think it has value, you're waiting for something greater, you're waiting for something bigger, you want to be in God's ultimate purpose. Be careful when you say, I want to be in God's ultimate purpose, because let the truth be told, once you meet and fulfill God's ultimate purpose,
you out of here.
You gone.
You gone. Bye. He's calling you home.
Think about it. We were talking about Christ.
Now we ain't asking you to do that to us, God.
No, we just teaching people.
We just teaching people, God. How to be
content where God has you.
Don't let them be our words be tested, babe.
No, it has to. It's to help us not to rush God's purpose for our life, because we can miss out on the journey. We can miss out on the preparation of what God has for us to learn, to get us to the ultimate purpose. When you think about the ultimate purpose, it's almost as if the teaching stops.
Yep.
The journey stops.
Yep.
I don't have any need for you anymore. I've created you for 1975. That's my share. I created you for 1975 until the ultimate purpose. So I need you to stay in the verb purpose.
Yes.
Doing and teaching and carrying out the will and everything that I have for you. Because once I'm done with you, once I've used you for other people, once I've used you for my glory, guess what? Crucifixion time.
Yeah.
And I say crucifixion is when Christ did all he was supposed to do for God, when Christ was learning from God, when Christ was healing, when he was delivering, when he was rescuing, when he was teaching, guess what?
3 years later,
he was gone, y'all. He had his end time was his ultimate purpose. Think about it. When the end time comes, guess what? God say, I'm bringing you in. I'm letting your spirit rise. You're good.
You did everything what I wanted you to do.
So we was thinking about those who marched, Martin Luther King, We were talking about Lewis Davis. John Lewis. We were talking about all these people who God intentionally knew that they had to be born at a certain time. Think about your born date. And think about things that happened prior to you being born, right? And think about the things in your mind, and you ask yourself, at least Marshall, I asked myself, I don't know if I could have dealt with things back in the day, back in slavery, back in all of those movements that was taking place. God knew exactly when he needed us to start our purpose journey. And everyone has that beginning time because you're alive. So God said, I see fit for Vito to be born in 1965. I see purpose for Marshall to be born in 1975. But the thing is, we don't know the end date. But when that end date comes, that's when we have fulfilled God's ultimate purpose in life. So when we want to skip the journey, we want to skip our right now purpose, are we really asking that God take us away before time? God has really been merciful and gracious. And I believe in the spirit. God says, daughter, son, you don't even know what you're asking for. Because if you really think about my ultimate purpose for your life, when it's fulfilled, I'll bring you. But there is a destination. There's journeys. There's a purpose. Wherever you are, it's a reason for it. Wherever you are, it's a purpose. You are in your purpose. Me and Vito was talking about, because Vito at first was saying, babe, no, the purpose is the ultimate purpose. And I was saying, no, there's purposes that takes place before the ultimate because it prepares you for the ultimate. Christ did not hit his ultimate purpose until all his other purposes and seeds were sown up until that time. And 3 years later, Vito calls it 3 years. I call it when it first started at 12 years old. Does that make sense? Am I saying what I'm saying? Like, even when you're being single, even in your singleness, and we were like, I want to be married. I really want to be married. What if being married is your ultimate, if God's ultimate goal for your life? I'm just not trying to scare you. What I'm trying to do is, we think our ultimate goal is our personal destination of where we want to go, right? So once we get it, we can achieve it, and we can live
We'll live happily ever after.
Yes. But what if God said, there's people who have gotten married, and God say, that's all I wanted from you.
That's all I wanted.
I'm done.
You hear these stories, babe, about people they just got married.
Yes.
And died.
Only
after their wedding.
Yeah.
A month later, they died.
Yeah.
Some of them got married and died on the same day. We're not trying to scare nobody.
What we're saying is, be careful when you're trying to reach a certain destination.
Right.
When you're not preparing and you're not enjoying, you're not allowing God to really use you, because you can miss out.
Yeah.
You can miss out on everything that God wanted you to do, because in our mental state, in our spirit, in our heart, we're so focused on wanting to be here. But what if that here
is going to be your end?
It's here. Yes. Yes. Because I'm thinking about even with celebrities that we can relate with, Michael Jackson, the Princes, the Whitney Houston. And even though some of their deaths ended tragically.
To us.
To God, that was it. Okay, that's it.
That was it.
Because where I'm going to go after this, you can't be involved.
Right.
You can't be a part of that. So it's like right now God has a strategic end date for all of us. But we're trying to rush it and don't know what that end date is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm trying to get this thing out as clear as I'm trying to explain it, because it was just so relevant. And Vito looked it up. The noun, there is a noun purpose. Well, that's the ultimate person, place, or thing. The noun for Christ was crucifixion. That was his ultimate purpose, to come and to die for the sins of the world. I remember in life, and even now, like, there's a job that I want, or there's a particular raise or promotion or business adventure I want to do. I want to go to Paris. Now, My ultimate, I'm just saying, your ultimate goals could be the ultimate purpose, and then ultimately you're gone. But think about this: when when Jesus died, even though it was his ultimate purpose, he died for a cause. Think about it. He died for a cause. He died to rise up and have confirmation, to show people, to be a witness. Even in our death, it's almost as we're still walking in purpose. Even after that's that leaving an inheritance, a legend, documentaries, a legacy. So even when you're ultimate and you're not here in the physical, even in your spirit realm, we still hear, Michael Jackson songs. We still hear Whitney Houston. We still hear preachers of Martin Luther King. We still hear preachers of Lewis. So it's not everything that we have done. God still uses it even when you're gone. Mm-hmm. But how can He use something that you've never accomplished? Because you were so busy rushing to get what you thought you should be. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Everything that God has used someone for, and even if they're dead and gone, we can pull it up and see what they did. We can pull up and hear the speeches they made. We can hear the testimonies that came from their life-changing experiences because of this person. But if you don't walk it out the way God wants you to, mm-hmm. Would people be able to pull up your legacy? Would people be able to pull up your purpose and what you did on the earth before He called you away? What would people find when you leave this world? Would it be something that's going to be edifying, inspiring, motivational? Or would it be something that's going to bring people down and distraught and distorted and perverted? Think about your purpose. And when you get off God's purpose, and this is what happens when we get off of God's purpose and out of God's will, and God forbid you leave because you're out of God's will, and we pull up the tabloids, or we pull up social media, what are we going to find? What would be the last legacy you left? She was out of God's will. She disobeyed God. She was doing her own thing. Or do you want your legacy to be, you know what, she loved God, she had a relationship with God, and she served people the way God. I'm just saying, we can't rush the process, if you will. Can't rush the purpose. I've been talking a lot, babe. Go ahead.
There's nothing wrong with you saying I want God's will to be done in my life, but understand what comes along with that, and understand the there's always a consequence, when you are in God's will and when you're not in God's will. Or there's a consequence when you are obedient to God and when you're disobedient to God. The consequences when you're obedient to God is that people still gonna attack you anyway, because of your obedience to God. The consequences when you're disobedient to God is that God is gonna put that little belt on your behind and He gonna chastise you for that. So that's a consequence for that. It's like one of them things like, dang if you do, dang if you don't. Well, yeah, you're right. You have to be content with God and God's process. Be careful how you. And I was sharing with my boy. She was like, "Well, so when did Michael Jackson?" It's like she was trying to give the time frame of his age, and he died at this age and that age. But I mean, he started at the age of 8 and 9 years old.
With some kids are in
singing,
and playing.
Right, singing in the little clubs and stuff. So him doing what he was doing, he was already in it. He was already doing what he was called to do. That was to entertain. That was to make people feel good. That was his purpose. He did it for a long time. Mm-hmm. He did it for a long time. And so, God, and then she asked, because she said, but what about some children who pass away, at 2 and 3 and 4 years old, 5 years old? I mean, they're young and they pass away. And it was like, well, whatever reason why God allowed that child to pass away and come to Him at that early age, there was a purpose for that. Mm-hmm. There was purpose and there was a reason for that, to basically implement His will in that particular area in someone's life.
Yeah.
You know, whatever reason why God does what he does. You know, I'm always asking those questions like, okay, God, why did you call this person,
Right.
you know, home for this when this person is still, it just goes to show you that God's mercy, and when we say God's mercy, God's grace, it's upon everybody.
Right.
It's upon everybody. There is no one person who has more grace than the next. You know, everybody is all of us are operating up under the grace of God. All of us are operating up under the mercy of God. You know, that, but we were talking about that, and we were, you know, trying to just kind of like, you know, connect the dots with certain things, and why this way and why this way, and I'm like, and I was like, I'm not trying to get there. I ain't trying to get to my purpose right now.
The ultimate purpose.
You know, the ultimate purpose. You know, because it's like, no, God, after the ultimate purpose, is like, man, you call them home. Why can't they just, you know, live, you know,
We're enjoying the process.
enjoying what you have used them to do,
And gone.
yeah, and why can't they just, you know, live that and enjoy what you have called them to do, and just, you know, just live, you know? And I always ask this question like, okay, God, Jesus came to die, right? Okay, Jesus came to die. He died for the sins of the world. So why people still got to die? Why people still got to die when Jesus already died for them? Why they can't just live on this earth for a long period of time, you know, and just, you know, these are some of the questions that I have. I mean, he don't have to answer me. And sometimes those questions that you ask, sometimes you ain't gonna get that answer until you get to heaven. Well, I just revert back the question. I'm like, okay, nah, never mind. Never mind, I don't want to know. You know, something comes over me then, like, you really want to know the answer? Well, the only way you're going to know those answers is I call you home, then I'll show you why. I'm like, okay, never mind. So, you know, we just have to understand that, you know, don't be so eager to want to, and anxious to want to
Get to a particular destination.
Yeah, get to a particular destination.
Because that could be the end.
Because that could be the end of your time. Just, you know, be able to enjoy the moment that you're in now.